The phrase most often associated with justice, the principle meant to anchor the system, is innocent until proven guilty. But for my father and 3 of his peers, that principle did not exist. From the very beginning, the presumption was not innocence, it was guilt. Guilty until proven innocent. In 1991, my father was a shy 16-year-old boy who loved anything automotive. He was smitten with a girl he met in PE class, my mom, and spent most of his time tinkering on cars. He had a natural gift for it. There was nothing he couldn't figure out how to fix. And that's exactly who he was. That's exactly who he was when someone needed help. If life knocked you down, he sat beside you until you found your footing again. He would spend hours holding space with you, talking about everything and nothing. He knew how to be present. He knew how to make people feel seen. In his own quiet way. He knew how to fix more than just cars. He knew how to steady the hard emotions life threw your way. That simple teenage life quickly shattered in December of 1991 when he sat in a room across from a detective named Hector Polanco. For 2 days and nights, his family had no idea where he was. For hours, there was no proper record of what occurred. Graphic crime scene photos from one of Texas's most horrific crimes were passed around carelessly, shown to a frightened teenager who was lied to and manipulated into believing the gun he had access to was the gun used. Inside that room, there was no evidence, only a detective and a narrative. A narrative so completely false, it feels evil. It's this story of a boy who was a troublemaker, a magnetic leader with disciples, and later a story of a ringleader and a mastermind. Those words, ringleader and mastermind, used to float around in my head as a little girl, as I tried to grasp what was happening in my world. I learned at a very young age that the very institution meant to serve and protect was capable of evil, capable of lies, and not just harmless human error, but intentional corruption and deception. Recently, I sat with an attorney who described my father standing before the judge in 1999, saying he would give them whatever they needed to clear his name. And the attorney stopped him. He told my father he could not allow him to do that, not because he was guilty, but because the system was dangerous. Because any evidence, any test, any DNA could be taken and bent to fit the story they had already decided to tell. What does that say about justice? What does it say when an attorney knows openly and plainly that the truth is not safe in the hands of the very system meant to protect it? What does it say when an innocent man must be warned that cooperation could be used as a weapon against him? That is how broken this system is. That is how deeply the corruption runs. My father would be hogtied in his front yard on October 6th of 1999. Then he went against the advice of his own lawyer and voluntarily provided his DNA, took a lie detector test, and even agreed to hypnosis, all to prove his innocence. From 1999 to 2003, despite a complete lack of evidence and repeated proof of his innocence, his alibi, his DNA, a past polygraph, and hypnosis, he was forced to spend more than 3 years in a concrete box. More than 2 of those years were spent in solitary confinement, locked alone for 23 hours a day. Those years were so dark, but he could barely speak of them afterwards. I have spent my life wondering what kind of suffering drives a strong and good man to say he would rather die than ever return to such a place. After his release in 2003, the harassment did not stop. Police followed him, watched him, treated him as a suspect in perpetuity. I witnessed it as his daughter, but those stories are for another day. Let me be clear, this is not the work of a single monster. This is not one moment of evil. This was the result of a justice system that actively hunted my father, harassed him, twisted facts to fit a narrative, and tried to force a confession to support a story they had already decided to tell. It was the result of officials who were never questioned, never checked, and never held to the standards they swore to uphold. A system that was created to protect the innocent instead became the very thing that destroyed him. For my daddy, it was a nightmare he could not escape. A traffic stop because my father rolled through a stop sign turned into what felt like an entire police force flooding a neighborhood, searching for an unarmed man who fled on foot, who fled from pure terror and severe PTSD from what he endured for years at the hands of this broken institution. I've yet to hear that dispatch. Were they searching for a man who rolled through a stop sign and fled? Or were they searching for a man named Maurice Pierce? What I have heard and seen, I call into question. That night, I had to listen to my daddy's worst fear come true. And then I had to listen to him stop talking to me. What I would come to realize was him taking his last breath. My world grew darker that night. I lost my anchor, my soft landing, my home. The pursuit would have never stopped. People wanted to see him suffer. People wanted to see him die because of a narrative created by detectives with no evidence. Alibis were inconvenient, evidence was irrelevant, and narratives reigned over all. The world grew darker for me the moment APD took my innocent father into custody. And again, when I saw him chained for the first time behind glass. And again, when I saw him in a courtroom for the first time. And again, when I hugged him in a small room with chains on his feet after years of only touching glass. And again when a cop forced me inside, as he proceeded to harass my father and throw him on top of his car. And again, and again, and again, until the last time. My world didn't just alter, it completely shattered. To listen to the sounds of my daddy, someone I completely love and adore, live his absolute worst fear, and then to share those last moments with him unknowingly, it's completely shattered me. This was not justice. This was institutional failure. And the cost of that failure was my father's life, his dignity, and his future. My father paid the price. I do not get to see my father live in a world where everyone finally knows what he had been saying all along, that he was innocent. I do not get to see his relief. I do not get to see his peace. To the families of Eliza, Amy, and Sarah and Jennifer, my heart breaks for you and your girls. My father's heart broke for you and your girls. There are no words I can offer, but I will hold you in my prayers for the rest of my days. To the Austin Police Department, the DA's office, and to Paul Johnson, your tunnel vision stole my daddy's future. You took his peace, his freedom, his dignity, and his life. My father was not a headline. He was not a ringleader or a mastermind, as your story would have it. He was an innocent boy, an innocent man, who was good to his very bones, and who mattered. Words to describe how incredible of a human being, how amazing of a father he was will never be enough. I'll miss him for the rest of my life because of your tunnel vision. I thank God every day that I was able to experience a father's love that has no end, a love I can still feel to this day. I thank God for the sweet glimpses of him I see in my children. I may not see justice fully realized here on this earth for him, but I know that I'm not alone. There are countless other families carrying similar grief and unanswered questions, the same wounds left behind by an institution that refuses to correct itself. Unchecked power cannot continue. Tunnel vision cannot continue. Accountability must come. Reform is coming. It has to. And finally, the man who made me who I am today, my best friend, my daddy. Daddy, you have your name back. The world finally hears what you were trying to say all along.